Hey guys, this is the Seattle Ring Hunter, and I'm coming to you in a bit of a response in this video to some of the people that had some questions about the special tools that I had used in one of my previous video recoveries this last summer. You guys might recall, if you haven't seen the video, I'll put the link in the description, and that was for the iPhone that was recovered at 50 feet in Lake Sammamish 10 days later, all due to having a GPS coordinates from a GoPro video. Quite an amazing recovery. A lot of process went into that, thinking outside of the box to be able to investigate every bit of information available that we had to work from. It didn't look like it was going to happen, but we did realize that there was a GPS coordinates and a video that was taken of that loss incident, so we were able to recover that phone, and it was 100% recoverable because it was in a watertight bag. So with that being said, one of the special tools I used in that video was the SandShark anchor system, and that's what I have here. I just want to quickly go over this because I'm about to modify this. Good friend from the ringfinders.com, Christina McCree, a good friend of ours, she was going to develop one for herself, and we've been friends for quite some time, and I've shared a lot of tech tips back and forth. And when I originally started building this, I was looking for some type of a swivel system that I could tie or clip my line into, I should say, and I couldn't find anything on the open market at that time for whatever reason. I just didn't get the keywords just right, because I'm sure this device was out there, what I'm about to show you. This is the original prototype. It is actually plastic cutting boards you can buy at the grocery store. I've got 3 of them. There's a smaller diameter one on the inside of this, and it's just basically some paracord, 550 paracord, real simple. And wanted to keep most of the hardware out of there so it wouldn't get corroded. I do have stainless bolts in here holding this little Oreo cookie together, swivel, and it works pretty well. So just to get you up to speed real quick, there is a helical coil in the ground, and you have a T-handle up here at the top that you use to screw it in. You would screw it in and get it established. And they had designed this originally not with the intent for boaters to be tying off to the top here. They actually wanted them to use a lanyard or a leash and put it around the shaft or down lower, because with boaters, actually they would understand that you have better anchoring down at the bottom there. It's stronger if you go down lower. Unfortunately, this version of the SandShark, which is the longest one they have, they're going to be doing, I talked to the owner of the company recently and learned they're going to be getting rid of the D-ring at the top, because these guys over in Florida had full-size boats. They were clipping off to the top because it looked like an obvious place to clip off, and they just weren't thinking. And they were actually causing damage to the extruded aluminum tube when they had these big high waves and stuff going on. The storm would come up and catch them off guard maybe. It was just a little too much strain on the system. So as a response, the SandShark company actually has to do what they have to do to mitigate customer service and that. So they're getting rid of this. They're revamping this system. It's going to be a little bit different, but we have it here, and for our application and the way that we're utilizing it, we're not creating any damage to this system at all, because quite frankly, as you can see here, as I've illustrated here in the front yard, we've got what I refer to as my down line. And at the top of this line, clipped to the top of here, would be my dive, flag, and float, as some of you may have seen, or my 14-foot inflatable kayak. And it actually is enough. I don't go out in rough waters. I do not dive in those conditions for the most part. If I can keep from it, it's just not my thing. So I actually try to prepare for that. I'm not out in the open ocean with a lot of high waves and such. But at any rate, I have this line that goes up there, so I can come down the line and be right on top of this. This actually, I deploy it, and it just lands to the bottom of the lake floor or the ocean floor, and it just sits there till I get there. Then I actually take and put the T-handle out, and since I have a swivel on it, it's not going to cause any problems, and this would not be connected at the time, and I anchor it into the ground. So all this to say that we were trying to establish a way for myself as a experienced solo diver, mitigating my safety as best as I can. I'm tied into all of my gear. I have the reel marked at every 5 feet with a white heat shrink and a Sharpie, 5, 10, 15, 20, all the way up to 100 feet. And I have this in my left hand. I go out 5 feet and put my marker pole. It's just an indicator, so I know when I've made 360, and I can take my metal detector and make a big wide 5-foot swath and make the circle go 360 degrees all the way around very easily. And this is going to fall over, but if I had it down deeper, it would be very stable, even in all different types of bottom conditions in lakes and marina, sand, silt. It holds very well, and that's what I appreciated about this system. It actually works very well for what I'm using it for. And then when I hit this with my metal detector or my hand and I bump into it or swim into it, I can go another 5 feet and continue the process. So this was never devised for production or for resale. It was basically, I had a situation where I had anchor flags up above, and I had a line coming down, my down line, and then if I were to put anything else in the water down below and try to go in a circle, obviously I'm going to hit that line that's up, you know, at some point when I come around. You can't make a circle, so it had to be a complete single system, and I had to be able to have the dive flag and floats directly overhead for mitigating my safety and knowing where my point of exit would be. And I'm in the system and always clipped on and tied off to it when I start going around in the circle. So that's what the concept behind this, or the need for this to get developed, was. And this right here, like I might have mentioned a few times in the past, these are actually cutting boards you can buy in the grocery store. So it was a nice piece of plastic that I could get pretty cheap, and I just machined them. There's 3 of them. There's a smaller one on the inside here, and then I bolted it all together with some 550 paracord, and that's what created my swivel. Obviously it's quite large. It does not need to be that large by any means. And if we take a closer inspection of this extruded aluminum tubing, it is flat on these sides and it's beveled on the front and back side of it, so it's a unique shape. So this is just a compression fitting. If we tap it, it will move a little bit. It's stainless, 4 stainless bolts that just hold it together. Being that it's 3 pieces, it never has really moved up or down and caused 0 issues. It's actually a reasonable solution, but it's just a little bit more bulky when I put it up on my kayak, because I have all this extra plastic that I have to contend with. But I've never really had a problem with it. The problem is when I originally went out to try to find some type of a something in the open market that I could buy from retail that would be a swivel that would be exactly what I needed. I never got the keyword search right, and I searched up and down for days on the internet. But recently, a good friend of ours, Christina McCree, I want to shout out to her and say good job. She picked up a SandShark because she wants to duplicate this system, and she got to searching, and it took her quite a bit of time, but she found this really cool swivel. It's actually a 3D printed with a durable plastic, but they sell 2 of them in a pack. This is the 2-inch version, and you put them on a 2-inch flagpole, one here and one here, and you can put your flag on it and it will go around all over the place. So it is actually quite, you can see that it has a nice swivel to it, or you could do it this, you know, this way. So the intent here on this video that I'm going to demonstrate is I'm going to get this piece removed, and then I'm just going to show how I'm going to adapt this piece. I'm going to take this off and take this clamp off here, this thumb release. It's a pin system that holds this, obviously, just like if you had a crutch with a spring-loaded pin. We'll get this removed, we'll get this pulled off, and then we'll put this on there, and it'll be much smaller, and I think it's going to work out pretty good. I'm not concerned about the weight so much. It's just a little bulky. Also, keep in mind, you might look at this and say, how durable is that? Made out of plastic? Is it going to last? I actually kind of like the fact that it's all high-grade 3D printed part, and we got the clip here. I'll show you in a minute. We're going to get rid of this cheap, crappy clip that came with it. We're not interested in that. I got a better solution to use some paracord to make a loop, so we can just take our stainless steel bolt snap and clip onto a loop of paracord. That'll keep the corrosion issues away. All we have is a stainless steel threaded insert here that actually locks it in with an Allen key, so that's not going to be a big problem at all. The whole point here, I think, is to mention is that we're not, when we clip in here with our dive line and we start going around, we're not putting all that much load on the system. So even though this is a little bit smaller, it's not as robust as what I built, it's not going to take much because I'm just have a string in my hand, basically a dive line, and going around in a circle. The real anchoring point is down there at the helical coil screw that's been screwed into the ground, and that is taking all the load and holding my dive flag and float up at the surface, where it might be bobbing around in the light waves or with the surf a little bit. I'm not in an open waves or big huge surf or anything up there, so it's not that big of a deal. We might get some wind picking up out here in the Pacific Northwest, and it'll start pulling and pushing things around a little bit, which, you know, but this thing here is more than adequate in holding that. So with that, let's go over here to the corner and start tearing this thing apart and show you a little bit more on what the second version of the circle search pivot anchor pole system is going to look like. Another thing to mention, if you do get one of these SandSharks, they do come with a bit of bungee cord. It is a safety device to kind of lock the lower shaft in. So basically you just run it over the tip there, and then if you were to push on the thumb release, sorry that was a bit loud, but you're not going to lose that. If you didn't have that and something got against this and had pressure, that could go right off the edge of your boat, and now you're looking for two items instead of just the one you're after. That would be a very disappointing time. So just remember that. Don't lose the bungee. If you're going to take it off, I would leave it on until you get to the point of deploying it. Then I would clip this off to your boat. The other end of your anchor system here, SandShark, if you are using it, or if you're transporting it over the water on a boat, kayak, paddleboard, or whatever afloat, you must always remember to keep this clipped off to it. The whole device could go overboard. If it's not clipped off, it might as well be gone in the bottom of the lake or the ocean, and you're gonna have to go get it. So that's not a good idea either. Always keep it clipped off. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Anybody that's interested in getting a SandShark, even if they want to use it for their own personal watercraft and not use it for the purposes that I am been using it for search and recovery of lost items, always remember your bungee, because that actually it will keep it secure, and I think they learned that early on, so that was a really good solution. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and maybe you can come up with some of your own ideas. Like I said earlier, unfortunately this version of the SandShark is pretty much no longer available. I think they only had a few pieces left, and they're probably already gone and sold out. They are getting rid of the clip at the very top of it, and for my application it was almost perfect and absolutely necessary. Not to say that you could buy the new version and you could easily drill a hole in the top of it, put a ring or something on it, and essentially have a place to be able to clip off if you put some type of ring or something at the very top of that extruded aluminum. I suppose the new one's probably going to have a cap of some sort, so you could still utilize the SandShark, their new version that will be released in a few months down the road. With that being said, at this point through this video, it's going to be a little bit more for anybody trying to adapt the original and they want to learn how to take it apart. This will be helpful for my friend Christina, so you can look at it and see how to disassemble it, and go ahead and put these awesome 360 flag swivels that she found online. And that's what the rest of this is going to be about. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share with your friends. If you've lost anything, give me a call if you're in Washington State, 206-618-8194. And don't forget to visit theringfinders.com. We've got over 600 recovery specialists across the country waiting for your call to help assist you to recover your lost valuables. With that, I'll go ahead and continue on here. This is not a complete, exact, precise how-to video. It's more just to kind of get you thinking about some of the things you can do if you're a diver looking to put some of these systems together. Some of these guys in public safety diving and looking for evidence recovery and such, they know exactly how much energy and effort go into some of the grid systems and other things that they put together, and the amount of time and labor that they put in sometimes to do a very dedicated and detailed grid search pattern looking for lost evidence. So it's pretty much a similar process to what we're doing when we're looking for lost items for people. So here we go. I'm going to show the disassembly of how to get the lower portion of the SandShark off of the shaft, so we can get the breadboard, cutting boards, I should say, off of there and put the new swivel on. Of course, we've removed the lower portion of the shaft of the SandShark, and we're looking at an Allen wrench, and it is a 5/64 standard size Allen wrench for this little threaded insert right here. We need to loosen that. Go easy, don't strip anything, and you don't need to take it all the way out. You don't want to lose it, but you will start to feel that it gets loose when you get it out. Just be cautious. Like it just came out, I'm going to go ahead and put it back in a couple of threads here. If I can get my hand on there. A little difficult with the Allen there. Just be careful you don't drop it, because you don't want to have to try to get another one. Put a couple threads in there, but you will notice that it's moving around a little bit more because I've loosened that up. Then we're going to go ahead and use a 5/16 or something close to that. The whole point, the way that this pin system works, if we put a light in there, you'll see at the top there's, when you push down, it pulls the pin. I'm going to do it this way, so there's a better angle. If you push on the lever, it pulls down on the pin, but it's trapped in there because it's not going all the way down, but there's enough room in there under the spring, and you'll see here that we can actually depress it and slide this off. So with that downward motion, we were able to press it in a little bit further into the cavity down below. That allowed us enough of a clearance. Now when you pull this off, remember this is spring loaded down here at the bottom of the pin, so go slow. You don't want it shooting off into the distance. You can put your thumb over it, it's not that bad. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like here. You can just set it aside. Pretty easy and straightforward. It's just a cavity in there with a spring and a button, or pin I should say. So we'll set that aside, and we'll have that for reassembly in just a bit. As I mentioned, even when I built this, I knew that the biggest issue was going to be to try to duplicate this. Was a lot of labor in getting this this hole machined in the middle of the cutting boards. As you can see, it's just a compression fit. So it took a bit of time to build this. I knew that I probably wasn't going to be able to duplicate it quickly for anybody else. So I'm actually kind of happy to, here's the shape there. As you can tell, it's beveled and flat, so it's not round. But the 2-inch swivel that we have works. We just have to put a shim in there, and we'll show you that part here and how easy it is to put on. As you can see here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this crappy piece of hardware that came with it. Probably sufficient for flagpole, but not for our diving applications and what we want to do. The reason why I'm kind of just not being nice about this is it's got some sharp edges on there. Neoprene dive gloves, we don't need sharp edges. It's probably a galvanized steel. We got better hardware, but with this we're going to go ahead and take a look. Once we put this over, you can see that this a little sloppy. So what we needed to do is put some shims in there. You could take that threaded set screw and bring it all the way down, and it's never gonna hold this for anything. So we just need to put a shim in there. So thought about it for about 3 minutes and said, oh, grab a piece of, what is this? We're looking at 1.5 inch thick walled PVC pipe. And we just need to take a slice out of this and put it underneath there, and I think it'll work perfectly fine, and I know it will because I've already done it. So I'm going to show the process on the easiest way to cut this and how to do that. I'll show that here in just a moment. We'll get it sized up, and we'll go from there. So obviously, if we have a line that's going to rotate around, we don't want any of this shim to be sticking up with its sharp edge or whatever that could catch the line or cause any issues. So when you mark your PVC pole for cutting, if you look on the inside, you just want to make sure you have enough, just a little bit, because you only need a bit for this to apply pressure to it to be sufficient. So the easiest way to cut this is by guillotine, cigar cutting, PVC pipe cutter, ratcheting cutter. These things are amazing. They make really clean cuts, and it's the way to go. So we'll open it up here. We'll get this thing somewhat started on the inside of our line, and after a couple clicks here, we should have a nice clean cut. And look at that. I mean, clean enough for our purposes. Very nice. We'll go ahead and put our pipe aside here because we're done with that. And one of the things we can do here is, this is what we're eventually going to wind up creating, but I'm going to show you how I actually cut it without any other pneumatic tools or sanding or anything. And it's just a nice, the edges are a little sharp, but they're going to be captive inside. So if you look there, there's enough of a, there's nothing that's going to catch, and we're going to put that on here. So I'm just going to show that one of the ways you can cut with this cutter, being as sharp as it is, you can actually put it in this way. We'll just go ahead and, you have, I've learned that if you have equal amount on both sides here, it'll still cut straight down through it because it's got pressure on both sides. If you cut smaller pieces, sometimes it cuts at an angle at the bottom. But I mean, there's the cut right there. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know if it gets any better than that. If we go ahead and take our Sharpie just as a point of reference, because I've already measured this. I cut a few of these just to find out how much of we're going to actually be doing it over the beveled side there when we install it. So I actually know that this is a perfect width. So we'll go ahead and recreate that. And one of the easiest ways to mark that off, since I've already got this solution measured out correctly, we'll just go ahead and we want to be on the inside of that mark. There we go. This is really a neat, I love these tools for cutting PVC pipe. They're so much quicker than killing yourself with a handsaw or whatever else, or cut off wheel. I've done lots of things in the past, but let's just go ahead and doesn't get much nicer than that. It's a pretty nice, decent cut. We'll set that one aside. We've got this one all measured out. Now we're going to bring in our flagpole swivel, and personally this is what I'm going to show. You could set it up any way you like. When we screw in the threaded screw here, it's going to be flush, and that little nub's not going to cause the line to catch or anything or fray, but I prefer to have it kind of at the top side with the configuration like here. So we want to stow the T portion of the handle, then we're going to bring this up and bring it in just about in there, and so our swivel portion will be down below here. So let's go ahead and install this portion of it. To do that, we want to get our shim. Actually, I can kind of put this on maybe and shove the shim in there from this side. Really easy. I've got it backed out quite a bit, and you'll notice if we can move this real easy. We can use the Allen key and poke in there to push that shim around to get it aligned just right. But if you look at the top side, it's down below, so it's not going to catch any sharp edges. If the line was to get wrapped in there somehow, it's still very smooth. We've got a hole here, and I might be able to push it right over the hole, to be honest. Let's see here. I haven't, this is the first time I've installed it all the way up the tube. I'm doing that with one hand, and that's very easy. We'll just bring it down a little bit. We don't want this thing banging into this at all at any point in time, but we want to maximize the height, because the reality of this system is that the higher we can get our swivel point, if we put that in just a foot or so, and we still have this up pretty high from the bottom. We're not dragging our line around the bottom when we get out. I've been out 25 feet, 50 feet with line, so that's a 100-foot radius. I'm sorry, 100-foot diameter, like a 50-foot radius. And if you have little bits of rocks and stuff at the bottom, you could catch a line. So sometimes you have to work around that, but this is the best we can do. And this looks like it's going to be real good here. I think I like that right there. The one thing I'll caution anybody that installs this, let me get the Allen and push on it just a little bit more to get it exactly where I want it before I lock it in. It's actually pretty straight. Once again, this is a 5/64 Allen wrench, I believe. Oops, that's for the, I'm sorry, that's the wrong Allen wrench. The one that was provided in the bag will work. I don't know what size it is, I don't care. That was for that piece over there. We'll tighten the set screw down, but we want to check to make sure that this is still rotating. If you over tighten this just a little bit and this has a little bit of a friction on it, you want to just back it out a half turn until this is moving freely, and it will hold and be fine. So I'll demonstrate that. Sorry for the squeaking. Now it's a little bit out of round, and this is not very smooth any longer, so we just want to back this off just a little bit more, and this is still going around quite easily, and this is not moving. I mean, you could probably put both hands on there and budge it a little bit, but it's snug, locked in place. So I actually like this. I don't have any issues with it so far, and I think it's just a little bit less there. Okay, I don't believe I'm going to have any issues with it, and it's so much more streamlined now. That laying flat on here, I don't have that big huge circle on there. This is already a win, and I haven't even used it. Like I said, we got rid of the hardware. I believe we have about 17 inches because we're going to put 2 knots in the 550 paracord. We've got about 17 inches. Go ahead and use your lighter, of course, and melt your ends to make sure you've finished your ends on your paracord as normally would, so they don't fray over time. We're going to go ahead and loop this through, and we're going to put a nice simple knot. It's not going to take a lot of load, so it's not a problem to do a simple knot like this. And I've had it on the other ones for quite some time, and if you really want to, after you've done this knot, you can take these 2 ends here and hit them with your Bic lighter. I'm gonna pull on this everything I got without right before my fingers start hurting, because they do dig into your hand. And then, since this is going to be a permanent attachment, you just take your lighter, you melt the 2 ends, and you get a real positive connection there. The wind blowing out here a little bit. Kind of push that in a little bit, and kind of make sure there's no real sharp edges on it. Sometimes people use a Bic lighter and they'll use the metal. You figure out what works best for you. You may just tie a knot in it. Then the other thing I like to do is go down close to the eyelet down there, and we're going to make another knot so this stays symmetrical. And we're going to pull everything down tight, and we're almost done with this project. And this would have been so much quicker if I would have just found this piece earlier on, but hey, it was a fun process making the other part that I just took off and threw in the garage for backup. if something happens to this, they actually come in a pack of 2. I could put the other one on, and if I find out that it doesn't work for some reason, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't work. I can always put my old system back on with the cutting boards. That right there is a big enough loop. We want it to be a little oversized. Now we could take our bolt snap with our dive gloves. We can easily separate that with dive gloves and just get one clip onto it. And we're going 360 all the way around this thing. It's just plastic there, so nothing's going to corrode. It's an awesome solution. Let's go ahead and reverse the process that we did before. So we're going to set this here. Actually, our hole is on the side. There it is. Hole's down towards the bottom. We're going to carefully get this without losing the spring and the pin. We remember the orientation is that the thumb portion goes up towards the top of the SandShark. The set pin was down below in this original, and you can see here the anodization, but it's aluminum, so it's fine. So when we install this, we don't even need a special tool. We shouldn't. We can get our thumb in there. We can press this on, and if you push down with your thumb enough to get clearance, I did that, and it didn't really hurt my thumb, but once it gets to this hole, it's gonna pop. This has a little bit, look here, it's got a little bit of a, so go slow and get it centered with your Allen key, which now we're using the 5/64 Allen key to slowly tighten this, but we want to get it, we kind of test this to make sure it's not binding. You don't want to over tighten this set screw, but you want to make sure that that is functioning. If you're in marine water, make sure to flush that out to get the salt out of it after your dive, and you can put a little bit of lubrication in there from here to there, here, now and then. Just tighten that up a little bit. Show you how that looks with the flashlight on the inside. We're back in business. That's adjusted, that's tight, that's not going anywhere. It hasn't come off in the couple of years that I've been using it. If it were to get loose with that pin in there, at the most you're probably going to lose the set screw, but that pin sticking up in there is going to still keep it in on the pole. It's not like you're going to lose that. You're not in danger of losing it. Oh my goodness, what an amazing system here. This thing just got streamlined. Thank you, Christina McCree, for sharing this piece here that you found. I really think this has just turned into 100% over the top. Really great system. We'll see how durable this is. We'll just be a little careful. We're not throwing it down on the concrete. You wouldn't do that anyway. And like I said, make sure that you keep your bungee cord clipped off to something. You don't want to lose the bungee cord if you had it on a float or whatever, because like I said before, if you don't have the bungee cord and this button gets hit, this goes down, you're going to be crying, and you're going to be having a little extra work to try to find that, and you're not going to have this portion of your anchor system to help you find it. But anyway, there we go. Hope you enjoyed this. It's a little bit of a different video on one of my special tools. It got a little bit detailed and maybe a little bit lengthy, but for those that wanted that bit of information and content, maybe it will spark some innovation and you will come up with something even better. Go ahead and share that with us, because we like to see what you come up with. I don't know much more improvement I can do on this system, and I think this is going to be great. Looking forward to using it this summer. All right, guys, this is the SeattleRingHunter. I'm going to sign off for today. We got this project completed. We're going to go ahead and hang this up over in the garage with the rest of the gear ready to be deployed on our next recovery mission that we need this for. This is the SandShark. You can go to www.sandsharkanchor.com. You can see everything they have to offer. Like I said before, unfortunately, this little piece at the top here, they're getting rid of it because they had big ass boaters in big waves out in the ocean, and they were putting too much load at the top of it, and they were bending the shaft, causing customer service problems. Shame on them. They should know better as boaters to anchor down below with the strap that was provided, or the lanyard that they had, that they could tie it off down there for a better anchor point for the less leverage on the top of this thing. This is actually very robust anyway, so for my little boat and in calm waters, for the most part, even with winds picking up around here, it's not putting any type of load or strain on this. So for our applications, it's perfect as described earlier in this video. And now with this little adaptation down below here being smaller than it was before, it should be a lot easier to pack in the car for sure. And with all the other gear, I always haul a lot of gear out for some of these recoveries. It just gets kind of crazy. So with that being said, until next time, this is the Seattle Ring Hunter. If you've lost anything in the local area, Washington State, 206-618-8194. We'll see you on the next one. Keep your valuables safe and stay safe. Bye-bye.
If you've lost your ring or special item of value, please get in touch with me at the SeattleRingHunter.com as soon as possible so I can arrange to do a search for you.